plane that day. I didn't have time to do a 5-year plan.
Mm-mm.
You had to make a call with the best information you had and take that best next step, whatever that was, to get you to the best next step. And all I said is, you know what? That's life. We're going through life right now so quickly. What's my best next step with the limited information that I have? Right?
Dave Sanderson was the last passenger off the Miracle on the Hudson. His journey from a Tony Robbins participant to eventually head of security is where he built the muscle to manage his state that day, allowing him to override survivor mode when the plane went down. We talk about how our experiences prepare us for moments that we never see coming, and why the best next step is really the only plan you need in a crisis.
Leadership sound bites. Real leaders, real moments, real growth.
So, welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites. My very special guest, Dave Sanderson, new brand, new thing that you're rolling out, Chief Strategy Officer for Resilience Partners Group. And I'm just going to give a hashtag sub under the rest of it because this is what drew my attention to you. Your resilience and leadership. What word am I saying? Coach. It's
Mm-hmm.
coach. What I am. Leadership and resilience coach. Survivor of the Miracle on the Hudson. Also best-selling author. I'll just throw that in there. What made me pause, Dave, to where I had to reach out and get to know you, and this is all on LinkedIn, was there was a post that you did, and it was around a keynote that you had done with an organization. And one of the things in there was you stayed back when the plane landed, crashed, whatever, on the Hudson. And I'm like, who is this dude? Because I know enough to know what happens in our subconscious with fight or flight, and that it basically is meant to protect us and, keep us safe and use the least amount of energy. And I thought, where did this come from that you could hang back? And so I remember going on LinkedIn to your profile and scrolling, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, coaching, all that stuff. And then I get down to like page 2 of the LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
and there was security, it had a security for Tony Robbins. And I'm like, and there is the thing, because that's not something that we're just automatically a skill that we have, that ability to override the survivor mode that we have in ourselves. And so that's why I reached out, because I thought, what a freaking awesome combination of a human that went through that and then is helping people with leadership. And I've been in the Tony world for a while,
Yep.
and not as long as you, sir.
Yep.
And so I'm excited for this conversation. And I know you have a quote for us, and then we'll dive in because I just want to hear more.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I'm really honored to be with you today. I and you're right. I'm glad you went down to page 2 because sometimes on LinkedIn you know how to put everything together, and we're working through that even as we speak. But yeah, I mean, it's the first thing that Tony teaches in his seminar, right? His UPW seminar is state management,
Hmm.
how to manage your mind, right? How to do this, right? And I just I I went all in with Tony, as you know, if all through the whole ranks of things, and having proximity, as security director, you just inanely pick things up, right? And I mean, I saw when he was going through challenges, right? I was back there when things is all not pixie dust and sunshine, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I get that. Everybody's got something going. I call it a personal plane crash.
Mm.
Everybody's got a personal plane crash in their life. I mean, Queen Elizabeth had things going on. You think she has everything in the world, money, more money than anybody, and all of a sudden she's got other things going on. So, and how I saw him manage the state and how he saw me manage my state when all things were breaking loose, when I had to make sure things were happening, was I think that was the genesis of how that day started for me. Because, as you know, I mean, when you're going down in a plane crash, I mean, you have
I
no.
don't, by the way, I don't know when I'm
Okay.
going down to plane crash. I'm just
Well,
gonna make that clear.
I'll give you an instance. What you realize is this: you have no control,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're not flying a plane. Fortunately, we had a captain and a first officer who was very skilled. Thank you very much. But still, they had to figure things out, and what the skills that they had to use was focus, right? The skills that I had to use was state management,
Mhm.
Because, if you don't keep your head, that's when things can go sideways very quickly, right? Because it goes back to something you probably learned and I've learned, especially teaching in leadership, is how we talk to ourselves, how we represent ourselves. We were just talking a few minutes ago about somebody that represents herself in a different way, and that's why she's getting the results she's getting.
Mhm.
Well, I had to manage my mind through my internal dialogue that day because I couldn't get up and move around, right?
Yeah.
So, and I just there's a lot of quotes I talk about, but do or do not, there is no try. That was the one that really has always sort of driven me. It talks about action, right? You got to
Mhm.
take action on everything you do, as we learned from our friend Tony, right? Write something down. You got to immediately take an action towards it, and I've always subscribed to that since I've been with him. So that's why I think it's helped me tremendously, and not only what I'm doing now, but especially that day because you have limited time to be able to make a decision and take action.
Mhm.
And those decisions are life and death decisions at that point in time.
Mhm.
Things can happen very quickly. Things can go sideways very quickly, right? So, and one of the things I really talk about now, and one of the frameworks I build is about one thing you figure out is what is your best next step?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, I mean, today, especially the way the world's moving, especially what we're seeing today, I mean, it used to be, and maybe in your world, my world, where I grew up, when I was in business, they would make it maybe a 3-year plan, business plan, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Then it was a 1-year business plan. Then it was a quarterly business plan. Now people can't even make a plan during the day because things change so quickly. So what I share is on the plane that day, I didn't have time to do a 5-year plan.
Mm-mm.
You had to make a call with the best information you had and take that best next step, whatever that was, to get you to the best next step. And all I said is, you know what? That's life. We're going through life right now so quickly. What's my best next step with the limited information that I have? Right? What's the least
Mhm.
amount of risk? How do I mitigate that? All these things that go in your head. So that's what happened on the plane that day, and it wasn't my plan to be the last passenger off the plane. It was not. But
Mhm.
it's the next steps I was taking were based on just what I had to go make a call at that moment in time, that second in time.
It's interesting because what comes to me is in order to get to the thinking of the best next step, we have to stay out of survivor brain.
That's right.
Right. And survive. And so it's like when you talk about the pilots in the front, and this happens in situations all over, is like, are you ready for crisis or whatever the situation may come up? And it is a practice. We have to get in the habit of doing it. The pilots went through simulation training of crashes, of things like that, so that they could, and I'm sure not everyone's successful in this, but they could stay calm. Healthcare. I've been in healthcare since 1998, supporting leaders in healthcare, not doing direct care. So if people are freaking out right now, I did not treat patients, right? But we went through the emergency response stuff. I mean, with real people that, fake blood and the whole bit, so that your body could react to it. And it wasn't this completely new thing. And your ability to stay calm in that moment so you could go into what's the best next step. Because you're not going to go into what's the best next step if your body is running from a hungry tiger.
That's correct. I believe, and I'll give my mom and my dad a lot of the credit for this because one thing they did extremely well with their kids, and we have not done as well with our kids, is, and I wish I had because as I look back, and this is one of these things you learn after it takes some time to learn, right, and look back. But what my mom and dad did extremely well with their 3 children is they made us make decisions when we were young with consequences.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I learned early there's positive and negative consequences. So my mother, I mean, what happened on the plane that day, I was getting ready to get out of the plane. My game plan that day was aisle up out, right? Okay, I had because I played sports, I always had a game plan. So as the plane's going down, like if I survive this thing, how am I gonna get the heck out of here? And I said aisle up out, just get to the aisle, get up and get out. So I got the aisle, great. Got step number one, trying to go up and out. But that's when everything started changing. I'll go back to what my mother taught me and my dad taught me. Because that moment is when I heard my mom talk to me. And
Mm.
my mom passed away in 1997, but there was something she would tell me, and probably my sister and brother too, when we were young. And it was if you do the right thing, God will take care of you.
Mm.
And my mother was very religious, very spiritual. But as I look back on that moment, she didn't say do the right thing. She said, if you do the right thing, she made me make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have got off the plane, right? It
Mm-hmm.
would have been the right decision for me at that moment. But it goes back to what they taught us when we were kids. There's consequences to every decision, right? And so my mother always, and I give my dad credit. My mother was more impactful in this. She made her kids make decisions when they were young. So
Mm-hmm.
when life gets tough, you're able to make a call. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you've only got to be right 51% of the time, right? You get in the Hall of Fame for around 300 now, right? But I think that was the greatest. So we did not do as well with my kids as that, because a lot of the parents these days, and I were guilty of this too. I don't know about you, but we want to jump in and help our kids, right? And make sure that they, like we talk about scrambled eggs, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, wish your daughter could make scrambled eggs, but unfortunately she couldn't make scrambled eggs, and so mom stepped in, right, to help her get scrambled eggs, right? Or you could have said, you know what, go online and figure it out yourself, right? That's what would have been my mom said. You
Yeah.
figure. Nowadays, you and I grew up in this generation, like, well, we'll help our kids out, right? And now
Yeah.
these generations, I see, let's give them a trophy just for trying.
Yeah.
Watch what's happening to these kids now. They get into tough situations. I've seen my kids do this. They get that trophy participation thing, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, something happens in their lives and they don't know how to handle it. And it's like, because you've always been given a trophy, you've always been told you're always the best, you're doing this. No, you know,
Yeah.
first step in my 1549 framework is you got to acknowledge reality.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reality, right? So I this goes back. This is the way I was raised and the values that I had. I grew up in the Midwest, and there were some certain values that you just live by, and that's the way we grew up. And I
Yeah.
acknowledge that, and also, of course, the one thing that I talk about now a lot is proximity is power.
Mm-hmm.
Putting yourself around people who actually done something, and that's why I started my mentor dinner series, like I did this last week, is I want to show people how to put yourself around people who've actually done something in a certain area of their life that you can not only learn from, but just be in that energy.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, being in the Tony world, it's the energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the so it's nice being online and doing the rah stuff online.
Yeah.
I can't cut that. I gotta be around that
I
energy.
hear you.
I gotta be around the energy, right? Feed me, right? Feed me, right? So yeah.
It's interesting, the stuff that comes up when you were talking is you're absolutely right. So my youngest grandkids are 6 and 9. And it was probably 3 years ago. My daughter is like, Mom, I'm changing the way I'm raising the boys. And I said, What are you talking about? She said, the principal at the school recommended this book of how to raise adults.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, helicopter parenting is not raising adults, to your point.
Right.
And so she was always about choices for things for the boys, but she went all in to where they had one night a week that they were making dinner. I mean, she was there to help and stuff, but they were the ones deciding and doing and planning and doing all that stuff. And it was realizing that we have to go back to the days. I remember when I was a kid, we could be out until the streetlights came on. I
No, you not
my
come home.
my parents didn't have eyes on me at all.
Nope.
And I mean, we were just out going, and then we came, but that was the rule. When the streetlights came back on, we had to come home.
That's right.
And then you like pendulum swing to I can't see you.
That's
And
right.
that's when we went from, closed concept homes to open concept, which I do like better. It feels open and airy. But the reason that parents wanted open concept was to have eyes on their kids.
Right.
So you're absolutely right, is when someone is always keeping us safe, stopping us from learning from decision choices that we make. Um, we then, when we're on our own, we're not capable.
Right.
That people are like, well, what do I do? Well, what thoughts do you have? Well, I'm not sure. And so we have to figure out a way to bring that back in so that we allow people to sit in even if it's silence, the quandary, the pain, the whatever it may be. But you got to tap into you and figure out what thoughts do I have that aren't influenced by somebody else's, narrative voice, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to even that 15. I mean, I give credit to the captain. I mean, yeah, he had all that 20 years of preparation for that moment,
Yes.
right? He's sitting in the captain's chair with 155 people's lives on the line, plus whoever else could be out there, right?
Yes.
And if he was going through a generation, well, now how do I make a decision? How am I going to do this instead of just going, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
understanding the consequences and risk behind it, but mitigating that in his mind. I have enough strength in my internal self that I can pull this thing off, right? I can pull this thing off. That's
Hmm.
what I mean. I don't know what your belief system is, but one of the belief systems I have is I think these generations coming up are much smarter than we ever were. I mean, they are more kind of extreme intelligence. They've got access to resources we never had access to. I mean,
Hmm.
my mom told me to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica and go get your information, right? Go to the library.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
they can get it within seconds, right? What they don't have is what you and I do have. And what they don't have is wisdom. They don't know how to apply the knowledge when something goes wrong, right?
Hmm.
Something goes sideways. How do I apply what I've learned to be able to do it? Well, you and I have had experiences.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know how old you are. I grew up in the 60s. I
Hmm.
was telling somebody this the other day.
Oh,
I said,
we're right there.
yeah, I told somebody the other day, I said, let's look at 1968, right? We're watching the Vietnam War on TV. Right? We've seen riots in Watts. We see two people get assassinated right in front of us, right?
Hmm.
And all these things are breaking loose, right? Haight Asbury and all this stuff going on, right? And so it's like, the stuff going on now, okay, I've seen this before, right? It's just in a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah.
These kids haven't seen anything like this before, so it's like, wow, the world's falling apart. No, it's just called life.
Hmm.
And just you got to figure out how to deal with it, right? You got to have to figure out how to deal with it. So, and look at us now. You and I were growing up in 1969 when we went to the moon, right?
Yeah.
We're back at the moon. It just repeats itself, right? It's all just stuff repeats itself. So it's like, okay,
It's like clothing styles.
yeah, it's still cool to me, right? This
Yeah.
is when the kids are like, "What's that big deal? We went to the moon." This is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big deal. So I agree with you, and I think these kids just need to have our wisdom, and that's why in my talks about the one thing I said, tell people if you don't hear anything I said this entire time, you find a mentor and be a mentor. You have to.
Mm.
You have to find a mentor and be a mentor. Because the last thing my mentor in 1997 told me before he passed away at the age of 93 was, do not let this die with you.
Mm.
He gave me his written notes from 1929. He wrote down, handed it to me, gave them to me. He said, do not let this die with you. And what he was telling me is that you're expected now to mentor somebody. It's
Hmm.
like I mentored you. This is the only way this thing's going to happen. And if people just want to hold on because they're afraid someone's going to take their intellectual property, right? Hey, this stuff was around for hundreds and thousands of years for us,
Yeah.
right? So it's like what I'm telling you, we've heard it, but just these kids got to understand. You go out and find somebody who's done it.
Yeah.
They will compress decades into days, as we've learned, right?
Well, and the thing is though, Dave, it's not just finding the person, it's being open to hearing
All right.
a
The message.
perspective. And a different way. And it's an interesting thing because it's like someone told me one time there's only like 9 different plots or themes to stories, right? I love Hallmark movies because they're predictable. I don't have to worry about it. I know it's going to have a happy ending.
Certainty. That's
Yeah.
certainty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And that's the area I do want certainty is my movies.
Right.
I don't want to be. But the thing is that the same thing happens in leadership development and our own development. There's not radically different stuff out there. I went through hypnotherapy certification 3.5 years ago. That's the thing that pulled in for me the subconscious. And for me, it was like the missing puzzle piece to understand there's a hack for this, there's a fast track for this, there's an understanding of what's going on. Because a lot of times my experience is that people are in this thing, right? Whatever it is. I was talking to Danny Bader yesterday, and he calls it the Valley of the Victims.
Hmm.
And so people are in the victim mode, right? And they, honest to God, don't know how to get out. And so that's the thing of you can tell yourself there's no way out, and you're absolutely right if that's what you're saying. Or you can do this.
Mhm.
Switch your language, pay attention to something, realize there's something different. Actually have your subconscious scanning for the good stuff
Right.
because they don't see the good stuff. I talk to people that they will tell me, well, yeah, I got called and I got this interview and da 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 da. And then in the same breath, they're going, I always get overlooked. No one, and I'm like, what? Did you not just hear what you just said? And they honest to God don't see it and hear it and pay attention to it because their brain is scanning for something else.
Yeah, and this is something you and I discussed before we got on about the gap in the game, right? It's
Yes.
exactly that, right? I mean, they just had some great news that's going to happen for them, but you know what? I should be over here. Should be doing this by now. It's not what I exactly wanted. It's like, look how far you come. Look, someone actually sees value in you, right? So, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's the internal dialogue that people run. I mean, and you know this, and I know this is what happens. And this is one of the reasons I start swimming with the Special Ops and Navy SEALs because there are a lot of them are going through a lot of challenges, right? They come back from the Middle East or war, and they have, so many things have happened, and they
Hmm.
just stacks. So it gets so deep they can't get out. So what's the option? I gotta get out of pain. So they unfortunately sometimes commit suicide. That's
Yeah.
why I started doing this to raise money and awareness. But so what the reason I did my TED talk is exactly this
Hmm.
reason we're talking about right here is because I what AARP magazine called me to want to interview me about.
Hmm.
And I said, "What can I add to AARP magazine? A bunch of old people have already done it. I'm young compared to I'm 52 years old, right? I mean, come on now." And they said, "But no," they said, "You have something unique because it said even compared to the captain and other people that they were going through PTSD, they
Hmm.
were going down." And but you did it. You went. It's called PTGS, post traumatic growth. How did you do this? What's the difference?
Mm.
I shared the difference on how I approached it compared to other people, and that became a TED talk. And
Hmm.
one of the first things I talk about is how to do this. Is number one, you got to change your state, right? And
Hmm.
that's easiest. But the second thing, which a lot of people miss, is the easiest thing is to change the meaning that you just talked about. Change the meaning you attach to it, right?
Hmm.
So the meaning you attach to something produces the emotion, and the emotion is where your life is at that moment. So
Hmm.
if I can help people just change the meaning of it, like you talked about, just change the meaning, right? I can change their emotion and change the way they look at things, and that's the two fastest ways out of it.
Hmm.
That's the two fastest ways out. But the kids, all they see is I'm not good enough because I see TikTok and my friends making $1 billion on TikTok and I'm
Oh
not,
my God. Yeah.
right? I mean, my daughter told me this week she was making before COVID, she was making like $10,000 a month on TikTok, right?
What?
And I was like, she's in heaven, right?
Yeah.
COVID hits, boom,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Now she didn't know what to do with her life. She's 33 years old, right?
Oh.
And so she's freaking out. She's gaining all this weight, whatever it's happening, right?
Yeah.
Whatever she tells
Yeah.
me is true, all right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because she sees everybody else is doing this, so I should be doing this instead of having the personal how far I've come. So it really starts with like we talked about the gap in the gain. If you focus on the gap, you're gonna stay in the gap.
Hmm.
You'll never be good enough, and your life's gonna go this way. So get around people like you and me and these messages, and you learn some couple things. Like, yeah, there are pathways through it, right?
Hmm.
There are pathways, and because we're
Well,
not
and
going
that
to go
way,
through it.
and like you said, it's like the lack versus abundance.
Right.
It's the whole scarcity is what is the term that I was looking for.
Yep.
But it is this thing. Are you looking at life as, what didn't work out? And oh, by the way, those closed doors, they weren't your doors.
That's right.
So for some reason, like your daughter or somebody else I know, was at this company, was not the passion thing, but she'd been there, was demoted, stayed, and then was let go, right? Was still top salesperson, all that stuff. And it's like because she didn't heed the warning when
Right.
the demotion happened. It's like, so, universe, God, whatever you want to do, the freaking door is going to close. Something's going to happen. So
Right.
someone goes, Birdie, boom, out of the nest. It's time to go find something else. And
Right.
that's what we need to do. We need to pay attention to what's going on. Are we doing something that's a drudgery? It's painful. It's like we've got to work extra hard to make it happen. It's not your stuff.
No,
When
no,
you're doing stuff and you're in flow and it's your stuff, you don't have 50 zillion barriers popping up every 5 seconds. That just doesn't happen. It just
nope.
clicks.
That's
So
right.
pay attention to that stuff and go, okay, maybe this isn't my path anymore. Like your daughter. You
Yep.
did this, you have experience. Now what's next?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you may have heard and read in the papers last week. I worked for a company by the name of Oracle for many years in sales.
Yeah.
They just laid off 30,000 people. Right. And everybody got an email at 6 o'clock. You're turned off right now. This is what you get. Thank you for your service. Goodbye. Right.
Yeah.
And I want my former whole division was basically laid off from the vice president down. Now I talked to a couple of the people and they're freaking out,
Oh yeah.
freaking out. And I understand that. And though you should have seen the writing on the wall coming, right?
Hmm.
Wait, I mean, Salesforce laid off 10,000 people.
Hmm.
There's things happening. The world's changing with AI so quickly right now.
Radically.
So you've
Radically.
got to be able to make a call, right? You got to be able to, because I'll give you a little tip, a little insight. I asked Tony once, why did you ask me to be head of security? Well, I mean, you have anybody you wanted, right? Anybody you wanted. And then what he told me gave me great insight about myself because I didn't. I give him a couple. I'll give him a couple props right now. Number one, he goes, the number one thing I look at for people who work with me and around me is the ability to anticipate.
Mm.
You have that ability. You see things coming, and that's what I need out there in that position before
Hmm.
something happens. And I said, you know what? I learned that, if you're a CEO of something, if you have somebody who can anticipate, right, what's going on before anybody else, that's an asset.
Hmm.
So, I tell kids today, I said, if you could learn one skill set right now, I learned the ability to be able to anticipate because you'll add significant value
Hmm.
anywhere you go because people are looking for that.
Hmm.
The second thing is, when people ask, well, how did I get start speaking and do what I do? And yes, I had a Miracle on the Hudson experience and all that. That wasn't it. It was a moment. And it was a moment I still had a security for Tony. I went through the Miracle on the Hudson. He's the only one that called me that night. My company didn't call me. And we were in Chicago. We getting ready to him. And one thing that head of security does with Tony before he goes on stage is we go out and do a power walk, right? We go
Yeah.
do start breathing and do that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
We just got done doing that. And we got back to the suite. He said, I'm going to find another head of security. So what do you mean?
No.
Just as long as you're doing this, you'll never fulfill your promise, what you need to do. This is your destiny, right? He was like giving me the pump up talk, but he said, if I keep you here and you stay here, this is your comfort. Time to go. Because what triggered me was just kicking out of the nest.
Yeah.
What I found out is there's a lot of people that see more value in you than you see in yourself,
Yeah.
right? And that taught me a great lesson because he's right. If I had stayed with that, I've been okay, right?
Yeah.
But I've always been attached. Now it's like he wants people out there to do their thing, right?
Yeah.
That's value to other people. Like you and I are having this conversation. We'll never have this if he would not have made that one statement. Never
Right.
happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's destiny.
I agree. And it is one of those things is embrace it. It's scary
Yep.
because the known is comfortable. Like, I come home and the furniture's in the same place and I know I'm going to sit and there's a blanket and my dog, well, all the stuff. But I don't want to have a regret one and think, you know what? I coulda, shoulda, fill in the blank. It's like, look inside and ask yourself, is there something that you thought that'd be kind of cool?
Yep. Yeah.
And those are the things. Those are the things to go after and go, okay, so how do we make it happen?
Well, my wife thought I was crazy doing this. I mean, I was number one sales producer that year at Oracle. I was making more money than we ever made before, right? Fat and happy. And you're doing what? And you're going to do what? Right? Because my wife was uncertainty, right? She
Yeah,
lives with certainty.
big
And I'm
time.
to the point now I needed variety and some other things. I'm like, listen, I need to fulfill my destiny right here. This is it.
Yeah,
Because the door was open, like you talked about a moment ago. That door opened. Now, it's your choice whether you step through it or not.
bingo.
I stepped through it. Where other people from that situation, then stepped through it. So I don't blame them. They had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
But the captain stepped through it. I stepped through it because that door opens, and sometimes what you want to call God, universe, nature, what you want to call it, they will open the door, but there will be a moment they'll say, you know what? I gave you that shot. You
Yeah.
didn't take it. Right? So it's all about, we talked about taking action. You just got to take that step and have certainty in yourself, because what you find out, as you probably have found out, on the other side, there is a lot of things, advantages, and it's tough. It's discomfort.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you got to meet a payroll, and I was like, oh my, how am I going to make payroll, right? I mean, my coach told me that there'll be a moment in time when you say, I don't have money to make payroll,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, nah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your shorts get a little tight, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how am I going to pull this one out on my backside, right? But God gives you that strength, right? If you have it starts here, like you said, it starts here, right?
Yeah.
What questions are you asking yourself,
Yeah.
right? Instead of, I could get to the 5-yard line, I never get it across, or what would happen if I did this and get it across? How would that open my life up? It's just a different question. It's not new stuff like we talk. Stuff goes back thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
All Jesus did is ask a different question. It's asking a couple different questions, right? So,
I could listen to you forever and chat with you forever. There's so many overlaps of what we have on thinking and everything else. So, and I want to respect your time.
Well,
I'm not
thank
sure
you.
why, just in this moment.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed time with you. And
We'll
in
continue
this,
somewhere else, hopefully.
yeah. What is the last thought you have, Dave? You want people to walk away with from all the stuff that we chatted about?
Well, I think the big thing I would love to leave with people, I like to talk about, we talk about mentorship, right? Find a mentor and be a mentor. But, the one thing I'm really focusing on now is sharing with people. You don't have to have authority to lead. You don't have to have a title to lead. That on the day of that plane, I didn't have a title, right? And someone had to manage the right door because the flight attendant in the back got injured, which was her responsibility. So don't think you have to have a title to lead, because you can lead without authority. This is what I'm really talking about now. How do you lead without authority? How do you step up in that moment where, say, listen, I'll handle it, right? I'll handle it. I don't know how I'm going to handle it, but I'll handle it, right? So
Yeah.
it's about giving people certainty in uncertain times. So I would say, when given the opportunity to lead, like when I was with Schwarzkopf and I was escorting him for Tony Robbins from the airport in Kona, Hawaii to the resort, I had that time with him. I had 40 minutes with a 4-star general.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot of insights, right, from 4-star general, just because sometimes you have to just shut up and eat it and listen, right? And he said, one thing he said, I always, part to all my colonels, when you give them the opportunity to lead. You just do it. Don't question it. You're given that opportunity to lead. Because sometimes, as we talked about, and I'll leave you with this, like we talked about, that door opens up. If you don't, the door will shut.
Mm-hmm.
You may never get that opportunity again.
And I'm going to tell you, when it opens, it's scary.
It is.
It is scary. You have this moment of, and because in my head, every time the door opened, it was actually a door that I'd asked for. I was curious about. That would be interesting. That might be kind of fun. And then it actually opened, and I'm like, am I actually ready for this? I've never actually done that.
That's right.
So, and that's usually those doors that open are things that you haven't done before. And
That's
so I
right.
have clients and friends and people that go, well, I kind of feel like a imposter syndrome. And I know Tony is very passionate about that phrase. He hates it.
Yep.
It's another way to say fear,
That's right.
because it is scary and new, and things that are going to challenge you to where you grow are going to feel that way. The thing that I want people to remember in those moments is all the experience that you were talking about before, all the wisdom, all the stuff that you had leading up to that moment comes with you.
That's right.
And what I've discovered is, even though the topic, the content, the thing's different, all those skills, that's the common. That's the thing that things have in common. And so you're more ready than what you think you are, just because you don't know that thing, that specific, because you've got all the other stuff that came before it.
And thank you for saying that, because that's the genesis of my book, Moments Matter. Because one thing I realized as I was writing is that all the moments in your life are there for a reason and a purpose, and they do serve you, right?
Yeah.
What happened in 1969 to you, you think you just go through life, all of a sudden, 20 years, 30 years later, all of a sudden, it comes to that's the skill I needed at that moment. And the skill was the ability to swim for me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on one moment, right? You don't think of anything about it. They're there for a reason. So you can't take them for granted.
No, I agree. You're awesome, sir. You're awesome.
Thank
So I
you.
knew you, I know your new stuff, Resilience Partners Group. You've got a new program that you're launching, 1549.
1549 framework. Yep. And
Yeah, the
lastly, I'd
framework.
love to, we do, I think, this thing called mentor dinners, as you may
That's
know.
right. San Francisco, I think, is the next one coming out. July? Is it July?
Yes, July 15th with Dr. Jessica Kriegel. And the topic
Yeah.
is going to be around, she's a world-class team culture person. That's what she does. She teaches world-class team culture. So we just did the one last week with Chris Voss about negotiation in Vegas.
Yeah.
We do this every quarter, and we're really excited about Dr. Jessica Kriegel coming up. So if you're interested, go to the website, resiliencepartnersgroup.com and sign up. We'd love to have you there.
Yeah, it's you did a promo with her on LinkedIn, and I saw it, and I'm like, she's cool.
She is cool. She
She's
is cool.
Yeah,
She's California cool. She's just California cool.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Till next time, this is Leadership Soundbites with Dave and Michelle, and have a freaking awesome day. Thank you.